5, 6, 7, 8. It's a mess. Oh, it's a mess.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the podcast. It's a mess, sis. So, what exactly is a mess? A mess is a situation or a state of affairs that is confused or full of difficulties.
The mess is when things don't go the way you plan. It is when you have to go off script, improvise, ad lib, sit through the awkwardness, and breathe through the pain until you come out on the other side, because you will come out on the other side. It is everything that makes life interesting and transformative. It is what we are here to do. It is how we learn how to be.
So, join us as we dive into this week's mess. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the podcast, It's a Mess, Sis. I'm Jessica, and I am a mess, and I am working every day to discover who I am underneath this mess. I am co-host on this, my favorite podcast. I'm a writer, a singer, and I'm doing it all while living in LA and figuring this shit out. I've had plenty of strategies about how things would go. My life had other plans. So I'm wading through this mess with y'all, one thought-provoking topic at a time.
All right. Hey, everyone. My name is Rena. I'm your other host, and I'm just out here living. I currently reside in the DMV. I am a content producer, writer, feeler, thinker. I just like making things and being creative. I've been on my own personal self-development journey for a while now, and this is an outlet for me to share what I've learned, what I've struggled with, and what I continue to absorb, because I believe that not only can it help myself, but it can help others who resonate as well. Also, I'm working to develop my vision and purpose in life, which I've narrowed down to talking, writing, loving on people while getting paid for it. And that's what I'm doing. So that's me.
That's dope. And so that's us. And now we will tell you that we're on episode 34, entitled, Do You Remember the Time? I finally got another song that I know.
Right. And I'm
what-
glad that you sang it, because I was going to butcher it. Because, I
man.
can't sing.
Oh, okay. Well, I got you this time. So what do you remember the time? What defining moment changed your life? And so this is going to be a really fun topic for us. Very interesting. We had to do a lot of introspection to come up with this. And so we'll dive into that in just a little bit. But now we're at the segment of the podcast that we call The Mess, or What's the Mess? And so then I will ask Rena, what is your mess? What is your mess this week?
Oh gosh, what is my mess this week? I feel like there really isn't a mess.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I'm just learning to be honest with myself about what I like and I don't like. And I really feel like I feel myself being led to lead with my intuition. I'm realizing that, intuition is just being aware and being honest with myself about how I feel about something.
Yeah.
And well, okay, wait. Okay, there is a mess.
Okay.
I do have a mess.
Uh-oh.
So I had to turn down a job
Okay.
because they wanted me to take my nose ring out.
Oh, that is a mess. And they a mess for asking. They a mess for even asking.
Right. And I feel like I know it. I want to say it sounds petty, but I don't really think it's petty. I feel like they're petty.
Yeah.
But I think overall they gave me bad vibes. Mm-hmm. And that's, I think.
Wait. Them, the whole company, or the fact that they wanted you to take the piercing out gave you bad vibes?
Both.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so this is the story. So I applied for this job, and it's with this Christian organization, and it's fine. It's a social work organization, and they hit me back like 15 minutes after I applied. I was like, oh
wow.
Right. And then, I was talking to them, and I'm like, they made it known that they're a Christian organization. I'm like, okay, so do you have any like bylaws I would need to adhere to? And she was like, no, not really. They just have a conservative dress code. I'm like, okay, what does that mean?
Right.
They're like, oh, well, they have this thing where they don't want you to have a nose ring. I was like, I have a nose ring. I'm wearing it. Right. Well, I was talking to her over the phone. She couldn't see me.
Okay.
So I'm like, okay. She's like, just talk to the supervisor anyway, just interview. So I interviewed, and it was the president of the company and like an HR person, and I guess who would have like my supervisor, the program coordinator, who would have been over me.
Okay.
And I said, yeah, I have a nose ring, I have stretched ears, I have all these things you don't want. And I was like, but I can take out, like, I can put in like a clear nose ring, a clear stud, and you wouldn't even know I had it in there. Yeah. And they were like, oh, okay. So then when I got off the call, I was already getting bad vibes from the president. He's one of those guys who are like, I don't like to be politically correct. I find people to be
What?
right. He's like, I find people to be interesting and like, let's talk about it. He's like, you don't have to agree with me. Like, I just want to know how you think type of people. And I
Yikes.
felt like he was really grilling me
Mhm.
on like he asked me a question like, why do you want to work for this organization? I'm like, because y'all have a position that I'm interested in. I really don't like that question.
Yes.
And
You're
and then he's like,
hiring, not
well,
me.
right. And then I was like, I did a little research on you guys. He's like, oh, what did you learn? I was like, oh, that you're like a family oriented organization. I mean, their whole job is like finding families and for children and helping children remain with their families.
Yeah.
And he's like, how did you get that from our website? And I'm like, I guess I use context and reading comprehension skills. I mean, what I'm like, I
Right.
also spoke to your HR person who kind of gave me some info about like your start, your background, and everything.
Yeah.
And then the HR lady was like, "Oh, he's not grilling you." I'm like, "Oh, I think he is, but it's
Hey.
okay." So after I got off the call, I literally prayed to Source. I was like, "Please don't let them call me." So I thought I was in the clear. A week went by, and then they called me, and I didn't answer the call. And then I was like, I'll call them back the next day. They called me on a Thursday. I was supposed to call them Friday. I didn't. Then she sends me an email on Monday, like, oh, I just want to reach out to see if you had any questions and talk next steps. I'm like, next steps. So I call her back and she's like, yeah, she said, do you have any questions? I'm like, no,
Mhm.
no. She's
None.
like, well, we're going to offer you the position. The only issue is that you would have to take your nose ring out. They're like, the clear stud wouldn't work for us. And I'm like, and risk closing it. Now, I got this nose ring when I was 19. This
Uh-huh.
shit started getting to the point where I could put nose rings in and out without like having that like
Yeah.
little sensation. I wouldn't quite call it pain, but it's not comfortable either.
Right.
And when I said risk closing it, she was like, yeah. I was like, she's like, but we're gonna send you all the benefits documentation and everything. You can review it. You got 24 hours to respond. She
Mhm.
never sent me the information. I took those 24 hours. I said, look, I don't want to do this. I can't accept
Yeah.
it this time. Like, I'm done. I'm done. I just at this point, I just didn't want to do it. I didn't like it. I didn't like the feeling.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so after I turned it down, like the internship I'm currently doing got extended for a few
Ah,
weeks.
that's
So
amazing.
and then I'm trying to set this informational interview with this guy who works for this company that's bridging like social work and tech together. So that's interesting.
Mhm.
So, and then I'm considering applying for this other job. And I'm just realizing I don't have to do anything that I don't want to do.
Period.
And the universe agrees. Like, so I feel like as soon as I follow my gut feeling and say I don't want to work for these people, the universe is like, okay, I got you. Let's fill in with some things. We'll get something else. We'll get something that you like. You
Mhm.
know, and I see that reward for following my gut. And I also realized that stress is not the answer. I was so stressed after I got off the call with them, stressed at the thought of them calling me.
Yes.
So when it was Wednesday, like a week later, I was like, oh, I'm in the clear because they said they wanted to pick somebody like within a week.
Mhm.
It's been a week and they didn't pick me.
Mhm.
So I'm just realizing if you make me feel stressed, I'm not doing it.
Mhm.
So pressure, a challenge, a touch of fear, that's fine. But if you're stressing me out, no, I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it. And
Yeah.
they were stressing me out.
And really, what is the nose ring gonna harm or hinder you doing the job? Like people are so pressed with trying to tell somebody how to look and how to be. It's like this nose ring is not gonna prevent me from doing social work. My
It
guy, you need somebody, and I am somebody. I got a nose ring. Deal with it. I even said I would alter some things and put in that clear piercing. And that's not enough for you. You lost your mind. Yeah, that's a mess.
They try to make it seem like, oh, this is for your safety. Like if one of the kids come up to you, we don't want them to like pull anything out. I'm like, first of all, I'm not holding nobody's baby. No child should be in my face with their little fingers.
Mhm.
Like, what are you talking about? I'm not picking up children. What are you talking about?
Wow, that's crazy. But I mean, that's awesome though that the universe came through and solidified what you already knew. If you like follow your intuition, you already knew that you didn't want to work for this place. You could have easily just pushed that aside and went ahead and worked. But that's awesome that you did it. You stood your ground.
Yeah, and I got
Yeah.
confused because I asked the universe, I was like, don't let me get it. And then the universe, like, when they called me, I was like, wait, universe, do you want me to take this?
Right.
But then they you're talking and my stomach started hurting, and I was like, I can't take this. I can't
Yeah.
do it.
Yeah. It'd be like that. It'd be
Yeah,
like that. Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
my
Well, that's a good. I think that's a good mess though, because it kind of shows you that you're able to follow yourself now. You are able to. You're kind of leaning more into your own understanding, which is what you've been asking for this year. So, I mean, it's a mess, but it's also really great. You have the
yeah,
opportunity to show up for yourself.
yeah, yeah. I thank you. I agree. I definitely
Yeah.
agree.
Yeah.
All right. So, what about you? What's your mess this week?
Whoo, child. Um, this week's mess is I'm sore. My body is sore as hell. HE double hockey sticks, my guy. So yeah, as if you're new to the podcast, you may not have heard. I am in a musical, so that's singing and dancing and acting. It's all of the above. So we've been doing all of the acting stuff, and I have all of my music that I've been learning. And so this week we just started dance rehearsals, and my body is like, "What? Are what are we doing?" Like my body is like, we don't move like that. So dance is not necessarily where I feel my most confident, but I am certainly giving it my absolute best, and I'm leaving it all on the stage as I'm doing it. So, I mean, it's paying off. I'm seeing myself remember the moves, and now it's down to like perfecting it so that it looks as flawless and as crisp as it can be, so that I'm, in sync with the other dancers, and really just a pride to the whole production. So, I mean, it's fun, of course. It's great. I'm loving it. But that first night, so the first night was Wednesday night, and it was 4 hours. 4 hours of dancing. And I came home and my body was like, I was like, oh my God. I'm so tired. I just want to go to bed. But then I had to shower and like, yeah, it was, woo. And then today I had another 4 hour rehearsal. Tomorrow I have another 4 hour rehearsal. At least only 2 of those hours is for dance tomorrow though. So it won't be as bad. But I was like, after this, a bitch about to be snatched. Cause I mean, I was just stretching and a bitch was sweating. I was like, oh, damn. I'm moist already. Wow. Look at here.
I can't. I can't with you.
Yeah, it's like it's really dope though. But yeah, it's so funny because I work out a lot. I work out generally, if I have to average how much I work out, it's probably like 4 days a week. So I'm doing cardio, I'm doing floor work, I hike, all this stuff, and it's just funny because it doesn't matter. Like if you have never moved your body in that way, your muscles is about to hurt because you're doing something a totally new way. Like oh my god, but it's fun though, and it's cool to see my body doing it. It's cool to kind of remember shit. And I was like, okay, so we learned to dance on Wednesday. And then
Mhm.
today, the majority of the time was learning a whole new dance. But then the people who were from the Wednesday's dance, we had to go over that today at the end. And I
Mhm.
was one of the few that kind of remembered. And I was like, look at me. And they were like, yo, you kind of got it. I was like, right. So yeah, it's a mess. It's cool. I'm sore as hell still. I'm still real sore. But it's been dope. It's been dope. I'm enjoying it and I'm having a blast. So that's my mess.
That sounds super exciting.
Yeah,
It
yeah,
sounds super exciting. And even though you're sore, it seems like you're getting better and
yeah.
you're learning that you can do it. You just gotta push through.
Gotta push through. That's it. You're right.
No, that sounds amazing. That
Yeah,
sounds like a good soreness, you know?
yeah. It's for a reason. It's for a purpose.
Right.
Um, But yeah, so that is our mess segment. And now we're going to get back to this topic, which, if you remember, is do you remember the time? What defining moment or moments changed your life? And so before we get into that, we'd like to tell you why we thought of this topic. And
Mhm.
for me, I think it was one of those things that kind of just came to me when I was thinking about topics. And this one kind of stuck out to me because I often wonder about the moments that really shaped me. What is the thing that I feel like has helped to create the person I am? Because, we have astrology and we have the way that we raise, we have nurture versus nature. We have all these things that boil down to being the person that you are. All these things had a hand in it. And I thought it would be fun and an interesting topic to dig down. Why did you agree? Why did you want to do this?
Okay, so when you brought this up, I was super excited.
Yeah.
I know I have these moments, but once again, like every episode. I don't think I've ever sat down and really thought about like these defining moments and what they've done for me, how they've transformed me, what I've learned, how they've helped me grow. I'm really into myself nowadays, like
Oh,
learning,
scared of you?
like learning myself.
Yeah.
And I think this topic as a reflection exercise adds to my spiritual knowledge base of myself.
Mm-hmm.
So, I feel that, and I feel that maybe I'm not the only person out there who feels like they could benefit from this. So I was like, yeah, let's do it. Let's dig this down.
Yeah, that's dope. And I hope you guys will enjoy dicking it down. And for those of you that don't know what the dick is, I'm gonna let Rena explain the agenda of this episode.
Okay, so the agenda of this episode, as always, is to dig it down, which stands for define, impact, and cope. So, this episode, we will provide our personal definitions of a moment or a defining moment. Then we will discuss the impact of, and then we will also name defining moments in our lives. Then we will discuss the impact of those defining moments on our lives. And lastly, we talk about how we cope with our definitions and the impact of those moments on our lives.
Mhm.
We also make each section clearly known, so feel free to pause throughout the sections to give yourself time to answer. You'll hear Jess or I either say, okay, we're at the definition, or we're at the impact, or now to the cope. And this is something it's just a suggestion. You do it if you want to. We just feel like it would be a good exercise if you were able to follow along, because that's what it's designed for. Take the time to write down your answers, or just take a moment to just reflect with yourself, and do what feels right for you.
Yeah, that was lovely. Thank you for that breakdown. So
You're
now,
welcome.
for those of you following along, we are to the definition. And so if you're new, you don't know this, but Google is my favorite for a definition. So defining moment, according to Google, is a point at which the essential nature or character of a person, group, if you will, is revealed or identified. So basically, we're getting down to the essence of who we are here as people. What moments in our lives have helped create who we are today? As we all know, there are so many moments that are defining in our lives, but I really wanted to focus on who I see in the mirror today. Like, who am I today that I can say, okay, I recognize where this has come from, the parts of myself, that I love, and the parts of me that I'm also working on. So I then narrowed it down to two defining moments. The first moment that I want to focus on is when I was in the fourth grade. I was at the Dollar Tree or Family Dollar, one of them cheap stores, or Dollar Tra, as they say on Instagram now. You ever seen that? Oh my gosh,
No.
it's
What is that?
hilarious. Dollar
Repeat that?
Tra. They say I go to a fancy store, the Dollar Tra. So
I
anyway,
can't. I can't.
I was at the Dollar Tree with my mom, just running errands and like picking up a few things, just like a regular normal day. And as we're leaving the store, a woman approaches my mom and she asks her if she likes Christian plays. And of course, my mom says, yeah. Here's a woman, my mom, who writes plays. So naturally, she's like very excited. So then the woman goes on to tell my mother that she loves my voice. I like my speaking voice, just my like regular voice, and would love for me to be the understudy for a main character in this like massive production of a Christian play that she was a part of. My mom, of course, agreed, and the rest is history. And by history, I mean I go to a few auditions as the understudy, and eventually, I guess the main girl. I'm not sure what happened because I'm a child. I have no idea. But she's no longer there, and now I am the main girl. And so we go on to do this, like enormous production. I mean, I I don't know if my little brain is like remembering correctly, but I for sure feel like it was maybe 800 or so folks, multiple nights, like it was weekends. We were doing runnings back to back, so Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and it was for like a month and a half. It was like a long time we were doing these things. And at the end, I won like a best youth actress like for this whole production. So yeah, it was really quite incredible. It was like a really, really amazing moment. Just, yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Right. It
No,
was
that's
so
like a
fun.
super dope defining moment.
Yeah. I remember it vividly. There was so many people that I got to meet. There was this other girl who was like a really great singer. She was like better than me. I was a really good singer, but she was like my age, and she was like really good. She was going to like these Bobby Jones gospel. I don't know if anybody is like a church kid, they know Bobby Jones, and
Oh,
she was going. I think he was on BET for a while. He used to be on TBS. He was on all the Christian programming. So yes, he was also on BET. But she was going to his show to sing. Like I met her. There was this anchor person who was a part of the play also, who was just so handsome to me. He was like one of the main characters who was like a bad influence on my mom in the show. And I just thought he was so cute. He came to visit me in elementary school and everything. I was like, oh my God. Yeah. Anyway.
so did you have the acting bug before that moment?
Of course.
Okay.
I am a performer by nature, I think. And my mom and I mean both my parents really were. My dad was a singer. He's on YouTube, and I have videos that I think I've showed you. He's just up there performing. So that is like what I grew up in. So I did perform before then, but it was very like small timey, like stuff for my church, for my for the local folks. And like my mom was for real a performer. Like people would come to our house and we would like really perform for them. Just like me and all of us up performing for our visitors. I really remember that. And I'm like, that is so weird. People don't do that. I didn't know that then, but yeah, we would be performing and all kinds of stuff. So yeah, that was a really big defining moment for me. Now the next piece is not as fun, but still very instrumental, I think, in the makeup of who I am today. So around that same time, actually, or maybe a year or so before or after, it's kind of blurry, but it's around that same time. My mom became really ill, like quite ill, and eventually we found out that we found the reason out, and it was pretty scary because she was diagnosed with renal failure or kidney failure in layman's terms, and it was something that would eventually take her life. So that was a pretty big defining moment in my life. So yeah, those are my defining moments. I feel like I wanted to explore, something that I feel like, has been the product or I am the product of something like really great from this experience, and also something that I'm working through because of this experience. And so those are my defining moments. What about you? What has defined your life, or what's a moment that you recognize as a defining moment?
Okay, so first I'm going to define what a moment, or a defining moment rather, is
Okay.
for me, which I just, me, I don't do Google or anything. I just say, okay, Rena, what you think this means to you?
Mm-hmm.
So I said it's a snapshot in time or a memory of an event that changed the course of your life.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I feel like we have these moments all the time. And I feel like they are moments of growth, whether we categorize them as good or bad, which I'm starting to realize is not even the point.
Yeah.
So my two moments are kind of balled into one.
Okay.
So I had just turned, and it's later in life too. So I had just turned 30.
Mm-hmm.
Like I had just had my 30th birthday, and like a week later, my mom got diagnosed with stage 4 ovarian cancer.
Okay.
So that was a defining moment, because
Mm-hmm.
like I went from just kind of like being a kid and just living my life to like I had to grow up really, really
Yeah.
fast. And this moment actually led me to my next moment, which is my more, I guess, good moment,
Mm-hmm.
where I met my first life coach.
Okay.
Right. So this whole
Yeah.
time, like I'm a social worker by trade, and I was a psychology minor, and I'm gonna admit I was really stuck up about it. I'm like, life coach, man, they don't have credentials. I think I've said this before,
Yeah.
but in this moment, like I just felt like, ah man, it was such a big moment. Like I know how I found her. I was like at work, not doing work, and I was just searching for something, and I was on Yelp, and I was like, you know what? I need to know what's going on in the world. Like nothing makes sense to me. I'm so used to things just making sense and just lining up exactly the way I need it to. I was like, I need something. I need like a psychic or something. And I think I typed in psychic or whatever. And I'll go through the list. I'm like, no. And then I see this black lady pop up, but she has like 5 stars on Yelp.
Wow.
Like I feel like that's a big accomplishment, because people go on Yelp exclusively to tear you down.
Right.
So I'm like, I gotta see this lady. I'm like, she's right in Virginia, like just across the bridge. I'm like,
Yeah.
let me just set up this appointment because I need to know what the hell is going on. And
Hmm.
she's not a psychic. She's into astrology, and then she also said that she's like a life coach. So, and this all kind of transpired toward the end of my mother's illness. So, I just decided to look in the last place I ever thought I would look. I figured, things had been so wrong for me at that time. I
Hmm.
figured, well, if the things that I always thought were right ended up being wrong, then maybe what I think is wrong might be right. So
Yeah.
that that is my moment.
Yeah.
One
That
of
is, huh?
one of them.
One of them. Yeah. It's really interesting how sometimes defining moments they're blended. I really like the movie. What is the movie? The emotion movie? You know what I'm talking about?
The emotion, Inside Out.
Yeah, Inside Out. Okay, so I really appreciate the fact that things are blended sometimes, and your
Right.
good moment and your maybe not so great moment are kind of like wrapped up into one another, and maybe one actually led to the other. You know what I mean? Like maybe
Right.
you would have never explored this defining moment of having a life coach if that other moment, which was more sad and not as great a defining moment, had to happen. So wow, that's really interesting.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
definitely would not have been looking for that lady on Yelp had I not been humbled
Right,
and
right,
looking for something to help me feel
right.
better. So,
Wow, that's amazing how life kind of flows like that. Um, so now we are to the impact, right? Or was there more for your definition?
oh no, we're definitely at the impact right now.
Okay, so um, yeah, to the impact. So I guess for me, being discovered in my regular life, not like trying out, not auditioning, nothing, and just being seen as desirable for my voice solely based on who I am, who I was. It had incredible and multifaceted impact on my life.
Mhm.
I think initially the immediate impact was that my love of performing was solidified. And like I was saying before, up until that point, I had performed at like church and for small family gatherings, but this was a crowd of like at least 800. It might have been more. I mean, it might have been less because I was a kid, so everything seemed ginormous. But it was a very large venue. I do remember, and it was so many shows. I remember rehearsing and just being so excited to have the outlet for that type of, those type of things that I feel. I feel very creative, and I always have. And then second, I have always held this belief that incredible things can just happen. I believe in the possibility of a dream coming true that maybe you haven't even spoken to yourself.
Mm.
And lastly, I believe that I'm destined for greatness. It's just a core belief. And I feel like it kind of came from this moment of me doing nothing and somebody seeing something so great in me and wanting me to be a part of something that was greater than myself. So yeah, I think it was really quite incredible, and it's been with me for a really long time.
I really like when you said that this really created a core belief.
Mhm.
Like, because I think that's what it is. That's that defining moment. It's something
Yeah,
that really helps you kind of come to like a deep understanding.
yeah,
And some I feel like for the most part they're positive. Sometimes you pick up a core belief that's a little
mhm,
wonky.
and we about to get on in there.
Oh,
We about to
okay.
get there. We about to head on.
Okay. Well, proceed. Carry on. Oh my
Um,
goodness.
so I guess then on to my mom's diagnosis. This one is actually multifaceted as well.
Hmm.
To be frank, I feel like I believe this is where my anxiety started. So here was this woman who had been so strong, and she's now sick, and there's literally nothing I can do about it.
Mm.
So then your questions start, which is what anxiety is. It's questions that don't have answers, which is what if something happens to my dad too? What if something happens to my brothers? What if something happens to me? What
Mm.
if, what if, what if, what if, what if? And it started there. And so I'm powerless, which then also led me on an unsuccessful quest for control in the rest of my life, um, which
Ooh.
Who can control life? Literally no one, which in turn made me more anxious. And the cycle continued for a long while before I came to terms with it. And that coming to terms was really just admitting, like, my guy, you have anxiety. I was like, oh shit. I was also then given the role, when my mom was diagnosed, as caretaker
Mm.
of my mom, of my brothers, of everyone, of myself. I had to take on this more significant role in the family, and it wasn't like I didn't begrudgingly do it. I felt strong. I felt strength in it. I felt pride that I would be asked to do it. I felt like that was showing my mother that I loved her, and I still feel that way. So I didn't do it with a hardened heart. I did it
Mm.
because I love my family. But because I was given this role of caretaker so early, it became my identity, which is why now in my 30s, I'm discovering how to take care of myself and learning to say no and learning so many new and wonderful things that now, what I've started to learn new and wonderful things now that I am the focus. But it has taken a really long while to get there because, again, that was a core belief. I am the caretaker. I must make sure we're good. I must make sure if all else fails, we're good, that I am strong, because if everything else around us fails, I am strong and I can hold us together and I can make sure we're good and I can make sure we're pushing forward and I can make sure the homework's done and I can make sure the food is cooked and I can make sure we got clean clothes and I can make sure mama's doing all right. I mean, I had all these things that I had to do so early on, and it became just like, that's who I am. A core
Mm.
belief is that I am a caretaker. Um, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that, except for the fact that I never included myself
Mm.
in the person who needed caretaking. I never took myself. I don't know if that is it a past tense of caretake. Um,
Care
but
took? Did you say care
I
took?
never took I never took myself. I never I never I never put me in the equation as somebody who needed taken care of. So while I don't necessarily believe that being a caretaker is innately wrong or there's anything, sinister about that, it's just that I didn't allow myself to need that also. I didn't allow myself to give myself that, like, let alone ask anyone else. So yeah, that's been some unlearning that I've had to do. That's definitely the impact for both of those things. There's been so many wonderful things that have happened to me in my life, and I am sure to focus on those. But I'm definitely looking at my life in a perspective of, okay, this was kind of hard on me. I
Mm-hmm.
was a kid. I was a child. Um, and that's a lot on a child's plate. And so, I'm unlearning those things. So that's definitely been the impact for those two things for me.
I have a question for you.
Okay.
Do you feel like as you learn to take more care of yourself and to focus on yourself, do you feel like your anxiety is lessening?
Definitely.
Because I just think, anxiety, I feel like it stems from really being obsessed with things you can't control, like things that are outside of yourself. And because you're like, there's nothing I can do, but then you don't want them to happen.
Yeah.
And okay. I'm
Yeah.
happy to hear that.
Yeah. And I think too that it's a combination of things. It's definitely the age old adage, which is worry about yourself. That is
Mm,
literally what I have been doing in this past year and some change. And I have siblings, and I think we talked about this in one of the other episodes about how I've always felt like people were an extension of me, and that
mm,
made my care and concern like so much greater than it maybe should have been for these folks in my life who I love so much. And so now I've kind of dialed it back in, and I'm like, you are you, and that's okay. And it's okay to worry about you. And if somebody needs you, they can ask you, because these people weren't asking me. It's just, my
mm,
duty, my obligation, my, the way that I'm gifting love, and I'm rearranging what that looks like. I'm not so worried about what the day to day looks like for anybody else's life except for my own. If someone asks for assistance or help or something, then I assess if I can, and then I'm okay saying no if I can't. So definitely worrying about myself and the things that I do have some sort of, power for has eased anxiety so much.
mm-hmm.
I'm not saying it's gone away.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's something that you have to be mindful of because it can, be triggered by a lot of things. I find that I have triggers and I know those things now. So I kind of keep myself from things that would maybe flare me up and, things like that. But yeah, definitely worrying about myself and giving myself the attention that I gave so many other people for years has eased me into being like a lot more calm, I think. Those are really
I
good
think
questions.
that's yeah, yeah. I think that's amazing that
Yeah.
you're at this point because a lot of people don't reach that point because it's so ingrained in their identity,
Yeah.
you know. And I think that's what's so dope about this whole episode is because it gives you that moment to say, okay, what moment did I become this person, or when
Mhm.
did this get attached to my identity, and do I want it there?
Right. Right.
You know.
Yeah.
So I think that's
Ooh, that's a good one.
amazing.
Do I want it there? That's a good one. I like
Yeah.
that. Yeah. So what about you? What has been the impact of your defining moments on your life?
Okay, so I mean, let me just start off with the impact of like my mom getting sick.
Hmm.
Like I had to really confront a lot of truths. It was very eye opening for me.
Hmm.
A lot of things that I had believed, you know, um, I think I was wearing rose colored glasses with a lot of
Hmm.
things when it came to my relationships with my family, with my mother, and just how I was just living in general. I was just
Yeah.
like, everything's fine, and it wasn't.
Hmm.
And I think that just kind of it broke the dam, for me. I always said everything was good as long as like, my mom is okay, my grandmother's okay.
Hmm.
And I think the universe is like, we're gonna prove to you that it's gonna be good, even if those people aren't around.
Yeah.
So, um, so yeah, that's when I really had to start telling myself the truth
Hmm.
because nothing looked the way I couldn't hide from it. I
Yeah.
couldn't run from it. And it's like, no, this is what it is, and it's serious, and you need to be present.
Right.
So I don't know where I was. I was off in La La Land, but
Hmm.
I felt this immediate, like I was snapped into this moment.
Yeah.
And I was fully present. And I was like, what happened? This lady
Hmm.
was fine last week. We just went on vacation. She
Yeah.
was fine, kind of ish. Not really. Actually, she did. Like, and then,
Yeah. Yeah.
so, and I had to get really, really real with myself. So then that leads to the next moment where I meet this young, beautiful Black woman who was into all of this earthy, crunchy astrology and spirituality shit. And who
Not
was the
crunchy.
first? Yes, crunchy, earthy, just hippie, just everything that my mother said, no,
Hmm.
don't. and and she was the first person ever to ask me what I believe.
Mm.
Ever. And I had never met a Black woman like her ever.
Hmm.
Ever. And I had never even asked myself that question. I was just kind of going through the motions. you know she was the first time I ever heard tribe, like in a way that wasn't antiquated and associated with a lack of civility and usually in reference to people of color. She was the first person to say that it was okay for me to feel how I feel.
Yeah.
Mad. I
Wow.
was mad at everybody. I was mad at everything. I was mad at God.
Hmm.
Um, and she suggested the book Conversations with God, which really just it blew my mind.
Yeah.
Like I would that book because I lived in Pittsburgh at the time. My mother was in Maryland, so I would drive every weekend, like 4 hours, 4.5 hours, back and forth between Pittsburgh and Maryland to be with my mom.
Hmm.
And I would listen to that book on audio tape, and like I would just be in there, like, yes, that's exactly what I'm talking about. Like, cause
Yeah.
he's having like a real conversation with God. He's asking all the questions that I've always wanted to ask, and I always felt guilty for even having these questions. It really gave me permission to feel how I truly felt. Like I
Yeah.
said, with mad and sad and really confused because I was like, I did everything I felt like I was supposed to do. I did everything I was told to do. And all I asked was that God leave me the hell alone. I
Wow.
said I'm aiming for purgatory if you want to give me some mercy or grace. But in the meantime, I'm gonna just live this little life you done doomed me to. And I won't bother you. You don't bother me. I'm not asking you for anything. I got me. And you can have whoever else you want to have. But like, won't start none, won't be none. That was, and then I felt like God started bothering me. I
Mm.
was like, hold up. I thought we had an agreement. I thought you didn't fuck with me. I didn't fuck with you. It was good. So listening to that book and hearing somebody else have these same questions and then like having, God, respond, it just gave me a whole new perspective.
Mm-hmm.
And I really feel like that's where my journey began. Like, she met me at the start, you
Yeah.
know, I had to show up to the blocks now,
Yeah.
but she was there like, you can run this,
Yeah.
this is you're
Yeah.
exactly where you are supposed to be. She just
Wow.
kept saying that. She's like, you are exactly where you're supposed to be. And I'm like, how? I'm not supposed to be here.
Mm.
And then I think I worked with her for probably about a year. I even worked with her like after my mom passed away. And I just feel like there's power in seeing someone who looks like you, who is self-employed, not doing a real job, creative, living in her passion, doing something I never saw for myself, but so desperately wanted. Like she was just, and she made me realize that maybe I can have what I want.
Yeah.
Maybe I can exist here
Mm-hmm.
as myself. I don't have to just kind of gloss over my feelings, you know, and what I feel is okay.
Yeah.
Like she really helped validate my feelings. I think she was the first person that kind of, I just felt the courage or felt like I had the permission to start acknowledging my truth.
Yeah.
So that was the impact. That's when I really started telling myself the truth, started seeing, instead of just seeing like this portrait that I had painted over the world, actually seeing reality,
Mm-hmm.
living in reality, moving in reality. Um, and I've erected a faith base on that, on my
Mm.
work. So that's been the impact. Like this was the first encounter where I realized I did not have a belief system and that I needed one and that it could be whatever I wanted it to be.
That's incredible. That's incredible. So it sounds like given this lady gave you permission to ask questions that you didn't even know you needed to ask,
Yeah.
so that you can move in a more authentic space. That's really powerful.
Right.
That's why she
Yeah.
got them 5 stars.
Right? I'm like, lives,
Wait, say that
changing
again.
lives. I said she's out here changing lives.
Literally, that's incredible. That's really incredible. It's so funny how we kid ourselves sometimes, you know. And I have often been told I live with uh the rose-colored glasses on. And sometimes I feel like that's just because I do actively choose to see the positive, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that, but I do think it is healthy to base your understanding in reality.
Right. Like choosing to see the positive is different from refusing to see the truth.
Yeah, yeah,
I was like, I don't even think they were rose colored. I think I just had like blockers on. I was like,
yeah,
nope, don't see it. That's
yeah.
not happening.
Wow. That's that's incredible. Well, shout out to her.
Right?
That's dope. And shout out to you for doing the work. You know,
Thank
shout out to you for doing the work, because that's the most important piece. Somebody could tell you anything, but you have to do the work. You have to let it touch you where it's supposed to. You know what I mean? So that you can move
right,
through all those things. So that's really incredible. Yeah.
right,
Yeah.
right.
So then are we moving through it, or do we have a little bit more in your impact?
Nope, that's it. That is the full impact for me.
Okay. Okay. So then we're going to go ahead and move to the cope. And we're going to tell you how we're coping with these understandings. So with me, with all things that we've digged down, I give myself grace. And that's how I'm coping. So, while I know that I am destined for great things
Sure are.
as a whole, thank you. Some individual days feel heavier than others. And that's
Mhm.
okay. So on those days, I allow rest and know that the universe is still working on my behalf, whether I'm aware of it or not. And now that I'm aware of my anxious ways, I allow myself grace to feel that way. And then I remind myself that I don't have to have it all figured out. I don't have to be there for everybody. I'm
Mm.
allowed to center myself, and that really the only way I can love others is if I love me first and love me right.
Oh,
So that's
oh.
it. That's literally how I'm coping. I do daily things. I think sometimes we see people who look so healthy and they look so well, and we think, what's that one thing that you did that one time? And that's not a real thing. It's a daily active practice, whether it's exercising, whether it's eating right, whether it's spiritual health, whether it's mental health. It's a daily practice every day of allowing yourself the trueness of who you are. I don't sugarcoat
Mm.
things. I know that I have anxiety. I know that things outside of my control give me the shakes, and I'm just like, oh God. But I feel that, and then I reassure myself, and I'm like, hey, remember these things also. So,
Mm.
I'm just doing it all with grace.
There's power in allowing yourself to be where you are. You
Mm-hmm.
know,
Yeah, definitely.
that's that's amazing.
Yeah. So, what about you? How are you coping with these understandings?
Well, I cope with all of this by having gratitude.
Period.
This topic was very interesting,
Mm-hmm.
and it's easy for me to think of the bad things, and I feel like I've been using air quotes throughout this episode.
Yeah.
Uh, so with this, I wanted to stretch myself and think of something more impactful in like a more positive way,
Yeah.
because I don't think we give those moments enough credit. Those relief moments, the joyful moments, the embracing moments. So I cope by remembering that moment.
Yeah.
And by sharing that moment with others,
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I realized how much meeting this woman meant to me and how she just appeared out of nowhere
Mm-hmm.
right when I needed her. It's kind of
Mm-hmm.
like what you said, the universe shows up for you like in ways that you can't even imagine. It
Right.
just happens,
Yeah.
and I felt like it was divine. So I
Mm-hmm.
cope with gratitude for the divinity with which she appeared and the seed of transformation that was planted.
Period. That was beautiful. That was
Thank
a lovely little summation. I love that. I love that.
you.
Wow.
I be
Sorry.
writing, I be
You
having
I know.
words.
You be having things to say. Y'all better listen, Arena.
Hype me up, sis.
Period. um okay, so then I guess are we to the recap then? Is that where we
Yeah,
are?
yeah, I believe so. Just sum it up for us, Jess. Take us home.
To sum things up nicely, grace and gratitude seem to be leading the way this episode.
Hmm.
Rena's defining moment came from seeing someone who looked like her live a life she thought unreachable or unlivable. Meeting this woman allowed Rena the needed go ahead to live and feel and experience the life that she had been previously afraid to live. And for that, she's grateful. For myself, I held this understanding that life is grand and anything is possible while also feeling anxious about all the possibilities I couldn't control, leading to mixed emotions and short sighted understanding of myself. So, with grace, I am learning and unlearning new and interesting things about my life and allowing myself grace as I figure it all out.
Oh, I like that. Allowing
Thank you.
myself grace as I figure it out.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's important to recognize that we don't have to have it all together right now. What defines you now doesn't have to continue to hold you hostage. It doesn't have to continue to be something that, if it's a thing that you're working on, I will say, if it's a thing that you're working on, it doesn't have to continue to be the thing that is the full defining thing for you. So for
Hmm.
me, I was the caretaker, and that was a core belief. And I am working on that. I am
Hmm.
working on that, and I feel very, very proud and grateful for the place that I am now. I am taking that caregiver, and that's the thing. It doesn't necessarily have to completely go away. I can still be a caregiver, but to myself. I'm taking care of myself, okay? And so it's nothing wrong with reevaluating and reclaiming the title or whatever you have to do for these core beliefs or these defining moments. And if it's a good defining moment, give that thing light. and let it
Mm-hmm.
shine, and let it grow in you, and be grateful for it. I'm grateful for everything, honestly, because I appreciate who I am, the
Mm.
good things and the things that I'm working on. It gives my life some sort of meaning, some sort of purpose. And so, with it all, I'm grateful. I'm going to steal that from you. So,
I
yeah.
like that. And I just want to add, I feel like, when you said, look into those positive moments, even the not so positive moments, I've realized there's a lot of growth and learning that comes from those moments. So if,
Yeah.
in the like in it, when you're in it, yes, it's hard to see that. But hey, if you revisit and you reflect, you'll usually realize there was a lesson in there, or there was something that you took away from it that is positive.
Hmm.
So
That's
I
dope.
just think, you know, I think at the end of the day, a lot of things are mainly positive. Or maybe I'm just feeling really like hopeful and optimistic today.
Ain't nothing wrong with that.
But I just feel like, sometimes what we have to go through to get that positive thing out of it is
Mm,
not always pleasant.
that's true. That's true. That's very true. This was a fun episode. I'm really glad that you agreed to it.
Hmm.
It definitely helps me do some reflecting. As always, I use these episodes, and I'm glad you guys listen along. But if you're new, for the most part, these episodes are for Rena and myself, so we can figure ourselves out. And we hope that you are able to use, this format for whatever you're going through, to kind of understand a little bit more about yourself and be honest with yourself about what you're going through or what you're experiencing, because it's been very helpful. It's been very helpful to just shine a light on some of these things. And so, yeah, this was a fun one. I
Yeah.
appreciate it. Yeah.
Yeah, this was super fun. Yeah, I struggled with this one, but I feel like what I got out of it, and just the fact I have this thing to remember now.
Mm-hmm.
Like, okay, I get it. Like, oh, this is where this came from.
Mm-hmm.
And or this is what I went through, but look at where I've come. Like look at how far I've come.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So it's been a great reflection exercise. I think it hit something. It like hit me in the soul for real.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Same actually. When I was doing the bout line, I was like, wow. And when I had to actually just say aloud that this is where anxiety started, because I don't remember feeling that way. I don't remember being so worried about everybody and everything before that point. I don't remember that. So it was very interesting to just sit there and have to say that to myself, like, damn, that's crazy. Um, but I do want to do a shout out to that lady who saw or heard something in me, and stopped my mom, and started this whole thing for me. I am grateful and I am appreciative, because that has been a wonderful gift that I was given that can't ever be taken from me. So shout out to you. I don't know your name because I was very young, and I didn't care. When you be
Thanks,
young.
lady.
Thanks,
Thanks,
lady.
lady, from the Dollar Tree.
We gonna call her Miss Mary. Thanks, Miss Mary. Um,
Not Miss Mary.
that's not
Why
my old grandmother's
everybody
name.
everybody who go to church is Miss Mary?
Miss Mary. I mean, honestly, my grandmother's name was Mary. So
My grandmother's name was Mary.
so many Marys. Jesus Christ.
And
But
then they did call her Miss Mary.
that's
Well,
hilarious. So shout out to Miss Mary. I appreciate you so much for coming into my life and creating such pleasant and beautiful memories.
okay, for me, I'm going to shout out my life coach. Her name is Tracy L. Rogers. I know who she is because I had to pay her. So I needed a name for the check. No, I'm just kidding. Hey, pay black women.
Period.
So,
And that's on Mary
um,
Sam.
and Jack and Jill went up the hill.
There you go.
So I'll put her information in here. I know she's on Instagram and I know she has a website. So like I'll probably put it, in the body of this episode if anybody reads, our little descriptions. But
Because Rena be
yeah.
right. Y'all should read them. I just want to shout Rena out. Rena be writing shit, and that should be interesting as hell. When I be looking up, I'm like, damn, that's what we talking about. Oh shit. Oh, but yeah, y'all read that shit. That should be interesting. Some little jewels in there, some little nuggets.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that.
You're welcome. Well, I guess now we are down to the meditation. Is that where we are?
Hey, yep.
Hey, so if you're new, this is my favorite part of the episode. We do a little meditating, we take a couple breaths, we set an intention, some more breaths, and then I let you go about your day. So, what I want you to do for me is take a big, deep breath. We'll take a second deep breath. Take one more deep breath. Okay, and now we'll set our intentions. My intentions is to continue to understand my core beliefs and either live with them or reassign them, and know that I can move my life how I want to, regardless of core beliefs.
It's funny how belief shows up. So my intention is to stay true to my beliefs, like my faith, what I've decided that I believe about my purpose and my work and my journey here on earth, this ghetto ass earth.
Well, I love that. Okay, we'll take our last set of breaths. Take another big deep breath with me. We'll take a second deep breath. And take one more deep breath. All right. Your intentions have been set for the day. Go out there and flourish, sis. Today doesn't have to be a mess.
But it's okay if it is.
So, Liz, y'all, thank you so much for tuning in again. We really appreciate your continued support. It is so beautiful. We've been reaching out to people. You guys have been reaching out to us. We have some fun things in the works for you guys. Like literally, we've been working on some cool things. Please be on the lookout for all of that. And we're just so excited to continue to have these conversations, with each other, but also with y'all. Y'all conversate with us. That's not a word. It's converse, but okay. Y'all know what I meant.
We know what you meant.
Yeah. But yeah, I
Okay.
really appreciate y'all. Anything else you want to add, Rena?
Nah, I just love y'all for real.
Yes. Tell them, Auntie. Okay. Well, I guess that's it. We're gonna catch y'all. We're gonna catch y'all on the flip side.
Peace.
Peace.
It's a mess.
Hey, that's all I can do.
It's
I
a
can't sing.
mess. It's okay. He's gonna talk over my singing though. Okay, it's ready now.